there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
And we're all familiar with the S-hole countries remark. And then there's Professor Amy Wax, who sparked controversy by claiming immigrants from non-Western countries make the U.S. dirtier, echoing Trump's colonial rhetoric in academic settings. Known for her white supremacist views, Wax has called immigrants loud and blames them for litter. She has referred to Indians as coming from S-hole countries and advocates that the U.S. will be better off with whites and fewer non-whites, claiming this isn't racist because her objection is cultural, not biological. Same difference. But the question is, are white people inherently cleaner in contrast to non-whites? Well, prior to the 1950s, it was normal to toss your garbage on the streets. In these times, American waste management was primitive and unsanitary. Household waste was commonly dumped in the streets, vacant lots, and bodies of water. New York City collected garbage in horse-drawn carts for direct disposal into rivers and oceans. Common waste practices included open burning in backyards or community piles, feeding food scraps to pigs, unlined, unregulated dump sites, and scavenging. In the 1950s, garbage became a much bigger problem due to the sharp rise in consumerism and automobile use. There were no state solid waste programs, and federal involvement in waste management was minimal. Parks were frequently covered in litter that families left behind, and highways were dump sites. More and more, the federal government became involved, but it would take decades for Americans to stop littering the streets. In the 70s, we had the Crying Indian campaign to try and change attitudes about garbage in the streets. Shows from the 90s, like Captain Planet and other environmental programs, were part of efforts to shift American attitudes towards littering. These campaigns helped change cultural norms around waste disposal, making littering socially unacceptable. Americans quickly forgot their own recent history with garbage. But not littering isn't enough. Proper waste management requires major financial investments, something many developing nations cannot afford due to economic limitations and colonial exploitation. Many developing regions also face waste management challenges due to geography, climate, and population density that requires specialized solutions beyond Western models. The narrative of dirty, non-Western countries ignores the systemic factors and instead attributes conditions to cultural deficiencies, code for racial deficiencies. But that's how white supremacy works. It removes context, reimagines history, and writes its own press releases. And if we look closely and objectively, then we would take account for our own garbage and litter. Let's not forget or ignore the fact that there are plenty of white neighborhoods with litter, broke down vehicles, indoor furniture turned outdoor furniture, and the random mattress on the street. Here we see images and commentary about the city of Toronto during a garbage strike. White people aren't inherently cleaner people. When conservative politicians, pundits, and commentators reinforce stereotypes about race and primitive cultural practices, let's remember what it took to make white Americans care about their own litter, and that there is plenty to clean up today.